In vitamin code, we always talked about the co-nutrients coming from microorganisms. So
Yeah.
beta glucans, coenzyme Q10, glutathione, superoxide dismutase. These are common microbial cofactors that your gut should be making, that you should make when you take a probiotic, and that anytime we ferment things outside of the body, we get as a cofactor. In fact, that's how they're made. If you buy CoQ10 on the shelf, it's made in a fermentation medium, right? If we're selling superoxide dismutase as a on-the-shelf potent antioxidant, it came from a tank of microbes fermenting, but
Yeah.
we want our bodies to do the same. And vitamin code has always really represented that.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 32. We're talking with Lynn Vitale. Welcome back to Amber, everybody. Practiced as a certified nutritionist, Ayurvedic Clinical Consultant, advanced bodyworker, and yoga therapist since 1996. Much of her nutrition practice was in collaboration with functional medicine doctors and other integrative practitioners. Since 2008, Amber has also produced written and video educational content for many publications, as well as for her own clients and an interested public audience. Amber's been a member of the Garden of Life education team since 2014, continuing her mission by empowering extraordinary health. I'm excited to have Amber back on the show, everybody. Let's dive into it. Thank you for tuning in to episode 32. Welcome back, Amber, to episode number 32. How are we doing?
Great. Thanks for having me back.
I'm excited to dive into this one. This is your second time here on the podcast. The first episode was very well received. People learned a lot. I, in particular, have been using a lot of that oat milk, creamy new protein that came out, that organic product. Been adding that into my oats and smoothies. It's really helped me to keep my weight where I want it to and help my performance and the gains, as we call it, with the muscle health. So I love that product. That episode was extremely informative. Today, we want to dive into products like the fermented, cultured botanical extracts and pure USP isolates. So the stage is yours. Where do you want to start today?
Yeah, I think what it is when our friends, our relatives, our family, our customers come into these stores and they see a huge uh, aisle full of multivitamin and mineral supplements, complexes, individual supplements, and it's just impossible to know where to start. So I think that we can help a lot by just breaking down what is available in your store, in the typical store, the categories where Garden of Life fits in, and what we have to offer.
Amazing. So let's get things started then in the different form of multis. That's a good place to start. Let's talk about the new vitamin code gummies. They're hitting the shelves here in the next week. By the time this recording's out, they'll already be on the shelves by then. So give us a little intro into the new vitamin code gummies.
Yeah, so vitamin Co gummies are kind of, in a sense, the best of all worlds. We've got some isolates, we've got some fermented and cultured in there, and we have some botanical extracts. Really just trying to give a customer, we're trying to meet you where you're at. You're like, I
Right.
don't want another capsule. I don't want another tablet. I'm not
Sure.
doing a nasty tasting liquid.
Mix it up
I
a little
love
bit. Yeah.
gummies. And if I can have I've got 5 different gummies sitting on my desk here. So I get it now. We meet you where you're at, and we try to put not only the right potency so that you get enough nutrition, but also in a form that is the most bioavailable. And so I'm very excited about the gummies, but they are this sort of culmination of our years of innovation and evolution at Garden of Life. The first multivitamin that we put out was Vitamin Code, and it was coming out of Garden of Life as a digestive support company. We were like, we do probiotics.
Yeah.
How would a vitamin mineral supplement reflect digestive health, probiotic support? And so that's really where we started. And Vitamin Code is not an isolate, neither is my kind. Organics an isolate. So what is an isolate?
Yeah.
Why do we carry them in health food stores? And so just to kind of give a basic definition for our listeners, for your customers, an isolate is something that either was reduced from a food all the way down to an individual molecule. or something that was originally discovered that way and is now made through synthesis of putting molecules together. It's no longer
Right.
coming from a food or an animal. It's put together synthetically in a laboratory. And synthesis doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming from petrochemicals, but it
Sure.
can. It can also come from other, plant type or animal type substances. And so, with all of that being possible, you have to really look at your labels to know the origins. Is your product vegan or vegetarian? Is your product non-GMO project verified, or is it organic, or is it have some kind of another seal that tells you like no synthetics,
Yeah.
for example? And so these label descriptions are so important. So we don't use isolates, but we start with that. And then we do what is called, it was originally referred to as renaturing. Let's turn that known entity of an isolate, that known amount, back into a food so that your body, your digestive lining,
Yeah.
the microbes there, your cells in your bloodstream and in your tissues recognize it and actually can use it. So it's both about absorption, but not being the fastest absorbing. We'll talk about that, and about assimilation or bioavailability. A lot of studies talk about the fastest absorbing B12, the
Yeah.
fastest absorbing vitamin C or ascorbic acid. When it comes to food and our multivitamins and minerals, that's not necessarily what we want. We want complete absorption, but we don't want necessarily fast. We want it to be absorbed like a food, which is all along the whole digestive tract gradually,
Sure.
right? So we want our multivitamins to kind of do the same. So it's great to say, hey, if you need a quick shot of energy from your B12 spray, we want that to absorb pretty quickly.
Is this
If
look?
you're on an airplane and someone next to you is coughing,
Yeah.
we definitely want that vitamin C to be absorbed quickly.
Does this look like the correct product here? The vitamin code.
That's the new men's multi gummy.
Beautiful. And it
Yes.
looks like there's three so far, correct? The men's and the women's, one and two, and then we have a prenatal
Men's, women's, prenatal,
and
kids.
kids.
And then there's a CalMag, a D3K2, and a CoQ10.
All as gummies. And
Yes.
they're all through the vitamin code then umbrella under the Garden of Life?
Right. And
Got it.
so vitamin code is about fermenting and culturing and making it like food. And vitamin code is also about best quality nutrient under that category. And it's also non-GMO project verified, which in a multivitamin is important because you don't know as a customer where your stuff is coming from
Okay.
and what contributed to that.
Honestly, we've gotten tremendous feedback on vitamin code products over the years. I've overall heard zero negative on the vitamin code line. Help us then quickly differentiate, and we're going to dive even deeper into the gummies, folks. That was just a little intro with Amber. Help us differentiate the vitamin code line from like the doctor formulated line and other sections of the Garden of Life products. What's unique about the vitamin code line?
In the multivitamin category, our two real comparisons are vitamin code and My Kind Organics. So vitamin code is where your starting nutrient is integrated using microorganisms like yeast and bacteria back into a food matrix. But we're starting with a known amount, a known potency. Like if we start with 500 micrograms of B12, that's how much we know is going to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
My Kind Organics is literally a botanical extract of certain specific plants that is standardized to the vitamin or the mineral. You have a natto seed extracted with hot water, standardized to carotenoids or tocotrienols, vitamin A or vitamin E, right? You have a lemon peel extracted, standardized to folates. So I view My Kind Organics almost in the herbal category, but we know within a certain window that we're getting a certain potency. And it is for that customer that is really shopping organic, farmers markets, taking herbal extracts, is familiar with that concept, is looking for plant antioxidants, so phytonutrient cofactors.
Yeah.
The vitamin code line is for people who are maybe have a lot more food sensitivities, maybe have a
Hmm.
lot more digestive sensitivities, have a lot of digestive upset. And the nutrients are now buffered in a sense by this microbiome pre-digestion. And the cofactors are microbial cofactors, which are what? So, in vitamin code, we always talked about the co-nutrients coming from microorganisms. So
Yeah.
beta glucans, coenzyme Q10, glutathione, superoxide dismutase. These are common microbial cofactors that your gut should be making, that you should make when you take a probiotic, and that anytime we ferment things outside of the body, we get as a cofactor. In fact, that's how they're made. If you buy CoQ10 on the shelf, it's made in a fermentation medium, right? If we're selling superoxide dismutase as a on the shelf potent antioxidant, it came from a tank of microbes fermenting, but
Yeah.
we want our bodies to do the same. And vitamin code has always really represented that.
Perfect. A good starting point, folks. Go to gardenoflife.com and just head over to their multi section or under their shop and type vitamin code, and you can explore the five that we just mentioned there. The men's multi, there's the woman's multi, then there's the kids version of it, prenatal, as well as you mentioned the CoQ10, the CalMag, and the vitamin D as well.
Yeah, those are three separate kind of single nutrients. And those three are exciting: the calcium, magnesium, the D3 plus K2, and the CoQ10, because they're all just like I have it right here. They're just like our magnesium
Oh,
gummies,
yeah.
where there's no sugar, there's no monk fruit, there's no stevia, there's no xylitol, there's no erythritol. The sweetness comes from a prebiotic called fructooligosaccharide, which comes from organic beets.
Okay.
And then there is a microorganism, Bacillus subtilis, which we should be getting if we're eating out of our own garden. But if you don't garden, you're not eating it out of your own garden.
Yeah.
So these gummies that are sugar-free, they're delicious. They're helpful for your oral microbiome and all the way through the digestive tract. And that combo of the pre and probiotic is helping with the utilization. So I love those three. And then in the multivitamin mineral, the men's, women's, kids, and prenatal, you're getting a little bit of organic cane sugar
Yes.
just to get to where it's flavored in such a way that you'll eat,
Which I'm okay
all
with.
two or all
Yeah.
three gummies that you're supposed to. Yeah, it's 5 grams,
Yep.
which is a teaspoon.
Which is 15 calories, 1 5. So I have a
Yes.
little bit of a different view on just the sugar. Like that amount's not really doing anything. Most people consume it in the form of cookies, donuts, cupcakes, and muffins. The sugar that's in
Honey in
this
their tea.
product is not going to be the thing that should be pushing the diseases, right? No, this is going to support. Perfect. And I actually think it's better than some of the bloating alternative sugars like xylitol. It could be bloating and tough on the gut. So, okay, good. Thanks for clarifying that for us. CoQ10 you mentioned is going to be coming out through the vitamin code line as well, correct, as a gummy. Tell us about
And
CoQ10 a
we
little
already
bit.
have it in a capsule. Yeah, we already
Capsule.
have that in a
Okay.
capsule. 200 milligrams in raw chia seed oil. It's a fabulous product. There are two forms of of CoQ10. There's ubiquinone, which is how we eat it and how we store it as
Yep.
humans. And there's ubiquinol, which is what we often do to it when we need it to be utilized in the body. Our body takes ubiquinone, turns it into ubiquinol, and performs certain actions of minimizing oxidative stress in the body, which is what ages us. It's what
Right.
toxifies us, right? So CoQ10 is something that is a real support. Your body should be making it. Most of us don't have a microbiome that's going to make it the way that it should be. And it's hard to eat. You need a wheelbarrow full of broccoli or some raw deer heart. And so most people don't access either of those. So the food form is really the most stable form, and it's the form that most everybody utilizes well and stores well. And that is the form we used in the capsule and in the gummies. A ubiquinol form, which you probably have in the store as well,
Mm-hmm.
is the bioactive ready to go form, very unstable, hard to keep stable, therefore is typically twice the cost.
Right.
So I always tell people, start with a ubiquinone form, supplement it like you eat it. If you're not getting the results that you want, more energy, less fatigue, less muscle aches, better, lung action, like you have better breathing, better energy through breathing, then maybe try a ubiquinol form, or maybe some people have done a genome sequencing and they've determined that they may have a genetic predisposition to poor conversion. But
Oh.
figure that people have been eating the ubiquinone form always in human history, making the ubiquinone form always in human history and animal history, and that ubiquinol form is like your body's saying, hey, knock on the door, we need the big guns right now for a moment. It's like it's an unstable form, so it's only used for a split second, and for some reason your body doesn't do that as well. And so there's other ways to support. Those products are out there, they're twice the cost. For most people, they do the best with the ubiquinone form. And in a gummy, I feel like the real positive about gummies is we're chewing it and we're enjoying it, and that activates saliva,
Right.
enzymes, brain activity.
Sure.
Brain tells the gut, ooh, we're eating something, let's get ready. It's so different
That's
than
interesting.
swallowing a capsule or a tablet. I feel that way about CBD gummies too. It's just a whole different ball game
I'm going to
for
title this
all the
episode,
processes that go in.
I'm going to title it The Case for Gummies. That's a good
The
point.
case for
Yeah.
gummies.
That's a really good point. Instead of just you swallow it, it doesn't get that chewing sensation started like when you're consuming food.
Yeah.
So in 2 gummies, in the CoQ10 gummy, you're getting 150 milligrams of CoQ10. What's a daily recommended amount, an RDI for that, or what?
Well,
Obviously,
yeah.
it depends on men and
Well,
women, but go ahead.
it does, and it depends on
If you're on a statin,
so thank you. Yes, people who are
yeah,
on certain pharmaceuticals, statin drugs, which help to lower your quote unquote cholesterol numbers so that your doctor is happier, they block three pathways: the one that produces cholesterol in the liver, the one that produces coenzyme Q10, and the one that produces a particular protein. And so if your statin is making you weak going upstairs and you're just like, oh, I have no energy, that's a great sign that it is blocking your liver's production of CoQ10 and you're not making it elsewhere in your body to compensate for that. Your gut isn't making it, your muscles
yeah,
aren't making it, your heart isn't making it. And so you need a supplement for that. If you have achy muscles, that's that protein, and it's not much you can do but change which medication you're on. That's kind of the sad news about it. But if you are on a statin, we often recommend 200 milligrams of CoQ10 a day, which is how much you get in the capsule. You can get that in 2, or you could do 3 gummies. How it meets the RDA for CoQ10, there isn't really a strong RDA for CoQ10 because it's just not something that we eat
right,
in the diet.
sure, okay,
It's really more about, is this product going to optimize your health? So there's also not really a toxicity level. You would get more toxicity from eating a whole raw deer heart, from other things, the iron in it,
yeah.
or whatever, faster than you would CoQ10. So most people can't overdose on CoQ10. It's the overdose of your pocketbook. If you're going to pay $24 for a bottle of CoQ10 and you decide to eat the whole bottle in one day,
Right.
that's more the overdose than the actual CoQ10 itself.
Yeah, so we did just mention like the statin CoQ10 connection, and a lot of even conventional docs now are prescribing CoQ10 alongside their statin prescription for their patients. So I want to quickly
Even red
wrap up.
yeast
Yeah.
rice.
Okay.
Let's make that, you come to the health food store and you choose a natural alternative, which is red yeast rice. It's still a natural statin. You will still need CoQ10.
Okay, that's important. Red yeast rice, CoQ10, the statin, those big three to work together. So, and then we'll finish on this note on the CoQ10, and then I want to switch back to the multis. What's then the importance of CoQ10? What is it doing in the body? You mentioned the fatigue going up the stairs and kind of hinted that it's involved in energy production, but give us a quick maybe 3 to 5 benefits. Like, why do we need CoQ10? And how does someone know they might be low? How does someone know?
Right. So when we make energy, it's called ATP, and it's made in every single cell in the mitochondria, which are these little organelles in every little cell. And making energy causes oxidative stress. So something has to be made by your body to clear that out, so
Right.
that you're literally like sweeping out the house. You can't just be moving stuff around. You have to sweep out the house. You can't bring new things in if you don't get rid of old things. So CoQ10 is one of those things that helps to facilitate that process in our body. You'll be able to make more energy if something like CoQ10 is helping you clean house constantly. So it is an antioxidant. It is a support for energy production. You have more CoQ10 in your heart than anywhere else because the heart muscle has to make the most energy. Secondarily, any other muscle. So if you're an athlete, CoQ10 is really helpful. The larger your muscle groups, the more work they do, the more beneficial CoQ10 is to you. If you aren't an athlete and you've been ill, you've been in chair bound, couch bound, bed bound, CoQ10 can help with that recovery process. So it can be really important
Awesome.
in those ways.
Thanks for highlighting that. So, and then you mentioned there's also the gummy version of D3K2. How is that
Oh
different
yeah.
from the amounts of D3K2 that you'll find in the multivitamin? Like, why take an extra?
Uh right. It's just easier to fit it in a separate product. So in vitamin code line, we've always had a raw K complex capsule, which I love because it has the K1, the K2, both forms of K2 called
Mm,
MK4, which lasts in your body for about 4 hours, and MK7, which lasts in your body for more than 24 hours. So something that lasts in your body for 24 hours will help you with every bit of food that you eat. So all your calcium containing foods that you eat through the day, if you have a good 80 to 100 micrograms of MK7 form of K2 in your body for 24 hours, it's going to help direct that calcium all day long to the bones, to the bones, to the teeth, to the bones, right? Not to the joints, not to the heart, not to the blood vessel lining, not to the kidney, not to the gallbladder, right? Which is the problem with high calcium intake. So anybody who's taking 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 milligrams of calcium per their doctor's orders or per their, naturopath's orders, they need to be on this higher 80 to 100 microgram dose
wow.
of MK7 form of K2, and the gummies an awesome way to get it. So there's D3, 2,000 IUs in here, plus the 100 micrograms of K2. It's a great combo. It's a great addition to whatever calcium supplement you might be taking. We do have 80 micrograms already in the vitamin code raw calcium, the Grow Bone kit, the My Kind plant calcium. So this is a product that's more of an addition for somebody who might be taking a different brand and not
Right.
getting that K2.
And you hinted that you can be getting too much calcium, correct? There's a potential for that.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, again, there was the days when we had cows in our backyard and we milked them and the cows were grazing on grass and their microbiome was healthy and their milk coming from their gut and from their mammary glands, there was K2 in it already. And
Right.
it used to actually go to our bones and to our teeth and big, beautiful smiles and strong bones. And even in, I think there were a lot of studies on Scandinavia, and they showed that the highest dairy containing countries no longer have the strongest bones. They have such high levels of
100%.
osteoporosis. Well,
Yep.
how would that be? That doesn't make sense. My dad, he's like 83, big glass of milk 3 times a day, and I'm like, because it just doesn't have it in it anymore. So if
100%.
you're supplementing calcium instead of eating it, if you're eating it and it's not from a cow in your backyard, you really need these other components, the D3, the K2. I mean,
Yeah.
even other things that should be in milk, conjugated linoleic acid, vitamin A, carotenoids from the grass that aren't there, right? The tocopherols and tocotrienols that aren't there because these, your standard milk is not grass grazed all year long.
Yeah, no, I
It's
wanted to
just the
just
facts.
confirm
It's
that
an
there was a
unfortunately true.
book I recently ordered. You might have already heard of this one
Oh,
called Death by Calcium by Dr. Thomas Levy.
no.
He's an MD and a JD. He's a lawyer as well as an MD.
Mm,
This was published in 2013, 10 years ago. Death by Calcium. So it's the
yep.
overconsumption as a westernized nation that we get here, just the amount with low K2
Yeah.
to balance it out and low
Because K2 is air
D3.
traffic control. Air traffic control.
Mm,
It's helping the D3 and its absorption from the gut of calcium, but K2 tells it where it's supposed to go. So even these age spots that we get that get hardened, keratoses, these are depositions of calcium. K2 even helps with that. So there can be a vanity reason. If you can't see inside yourself, you could at least say, hey, maybe I'll look better. I'll feel like I look healthier. But the biggest danger is that hardening of the arteries and the heart valves, that atherosclerosis, because the calcium is floating around in your bloodstream and it attaches to whatever is injured. So if you're
yeah.
inflamed, and you take high calcium and you don't have K2, that's a recipe for disaster.
Interesting. Extremely informative. We can go for like 3 hours on this topic. So that
I
was a
know we
good
could. It's always like that.
intro, and I look forward to having you on again soon, Amber. This is going to be closing out episode number 32. What's a good take home here for customers shopping in the store? We introduced the new gummy line that's coming out through Vitamin Code, and I think actually there's about 8 different forms of it now with the CoQ10 if you consider the CalMag and the D3K2. What's a good take home for today's episode?
Yeah, I just think, Garden of Life has always been a brand you can trust. Use our labels to educate yourself what labels should say. Look for NSF content certified, look for non-GMO project verified, look for gluten-free, look for, whether it fits your dietary standards like vegan, and know that we're always trying to put out the form that your body will utilize, and you want to
Yeah.
supplement the way you would eat it. That's what we do.
Right. You could take supplements all day, but if your body's not absorbing it, right, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
So,
Well,
perfect.
it's very expensive urine. That's why.
Thanks for coming on, Amber. We always appreciate you and the team there at GOL. We look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Dan.
Thank
Take
you.
care.